The tools you will require to build this trailer are: you'll need a torque wrench for torquing all the nuts and bolts up. You'll need a knife to open the boxes. You'll need 4 sockets, a 10mm, 13mm, 17mm and 19mm. You'll need the same size spanners, and you'll need something to run all the sockets up with, which you can have a ratchet. I use a battery ratchet, and you will need an extension to get under the mud guards and tighten the bolts on the underside of the mud guards. Included in a 143 trailer there are 3 parts. There is the box with the panels in. This is a box A. This has the floor pan, the sides, the front and the rear panel in, and some strengtheners for under the axle. There is box B. This has the wheels, the mud guards, the drawbar, the light bar, the nuts and bolts and any other little fittings. And then the axle is separate on the 143 trailer. The 143 trailer is the smallest trailer that comes with a separate axle. When building the 143 trailer, start off with the base panel on a table, bench or trestles. This has all the panels in. First thing you do is open it up and remove the panels. Once the panels are removed, you've got a set of instructions and a type approval certificate. The type approval certificate is showing that the trailer meets any requirements needed to tow it in the EU. It has the chassis number across the middle and all the specifications of the trailer, and it is required to pass it on if you sell the trailer currently. And you are left with the floor pan and 2 strengthening beams. These strengthening beams are the first thing that you fit. These are fitted sideways on under the floor pan and give you all the mounting bolts for the axle and the mud guards. These mud guard ones line up with holes that are in the side of the trailer. When lining this up, there is a small hole in the top, and this lines up with a hole in the side of the trailer, in the base of the trailer floor pan, and gives you all the holes that are required. Once the strengtheners are in both sides, you then need the axle and the drawbar. The axle sits on top of the 2 side panels, and the drawbar will go through the centre of the axle and mount on a bracket that is fitted on the front edge of the trailer. The bracket is included on the drawbar and held on with elastic bands, and a securing pin is also included. This gives you a tipping facility on this trailer. Get the bag of nuts and bolts, and you need 2 M10 bolts complete with spring washers for mounting the bracket on the front of the axle. The bracket bolts underneath the floor pan. Only tighten these up finger tight. 4 further nuts and bolts are then required. 4 further bolts are required. These have a spring washer and a plain washer, and go in the axle mounting. Once these are placed in, the drawbar needs fitting. Remove the elastic band off the front of the cable stuck out the front of the drawbar, and remove the bolt from the rear of the drawbar. Then draw the cables out the back. This then needs feeding through the axle, and the securing pin for the drawbar needs to be fitted. On the front of the floor pan there is an R-clip that then secures in the end of the tipping pin. Once this has been fitted, the rear bolt is refitted, and the nylock nut fitted on the end. All bolts are currently finger tight, which has allowed me to slightly move the axle and the drawbar around to fit them. This then makes this section all tight, and all bolts need tightening and torquing up. The torque setting for all 6 of these bolts, which are M10, is 36 Newton meters. Once this is done, using the same socket, tighten the centre bolt on the axle. This doesn't require torquing up, and if it's too tight will stop the trailer tipping. Just tighten this until the outside edge touches the drawbar, allowing it to still tip. Then try and draw the cable through the centre of the drawbar, allowing enough to run the cable back and to one side. Next, the rear light panel is required. Once you have the rear light panel, this needs fitting by laying it facing backwards, dropping it down, and then twisting it upright. Then the plugs need to be plugged in. On the end of the plug there is a slight cutout. This needs lining up with a pin within the plug on the light. Once this is on, there is a cap that screws over the top. It pushes on and twists slightly. Then the cable needs to be clipped in the black clips along the centre of the floor pan. As we will be turning this trailer the correct way up, there's nothing currently securing the light bar. I tend to just screw 2 screws in the rear panel just a few threads which stops the light bar dropping out as you turn it over. Then the wheels need fitting. Remove all 4 wheel nuts. And mount onto the hubs. I don't torque these up at this point, I wait till the trailer is assembled to torque them up. These will require torquing up to make sure that the trailer's safe and need torquing to 70 Newton meters. Make sure as the nuts go on that the curved edge goes to the wheel side of the nut. We have seen people assemble the trailers with the flat edge to the wheel. This doesn't center the wheel correctly. Once both wheels are fitted, it is a good time to turn the trailer the correct way up and mount all the panels on. Once the trailer is ready for turning over, it is a 2-man job. Lower it down onto the wheel and roll it over the correct way up. Once the trailer's the correct way up, the panels need to go on, and these are fairly simple to fit. Start off with a side panel. Remove the screw that's fitted in the back. Hook the small tail on the back under the light bar and lever it forward until it sits on. Then put the bolt in the side just to secure it on. Get the front panel. And 4 screws. 2 larger M8 bolts are required. These need some spring washers fitted to them. And 2 shorter M8 bolts are required to put in the side panel. Fit the longer bolts through the holes in the side of the side panel and screw into the side of the front panel. Then screw the 2 shorter bolts into the front and the side of the front corner of the side panel. Fit the second side panel using the 2 longer bolts again that screw into the front panel, and get the 2 shorter bolts to put in the front. Again, you will need to remove the bolt that was put in to secure the light bar. Again, I slide this into the back corner just to secure it and stop it falling off. I also fit the 2 front corner Once this is done, select 2 shorter M8 bolts and 2 small M6 bolts. These Go into the back where you originally held the light panel on for the small M8 bolts. Then the two small M6 go into the bottom, holding the bottom corner to the light panel. Once all the panels are fitted, the mudguards require fitting. On the mudguards there is a captive nut and a hole. These are handed, and the only thing that makes them handed is where the captive nut's positioned. The captive nut goes towards the front of the mudguard to hold it in place. So this one is for this side, the opposite side has the captive nut in that hole. To mount it, that you use the smaller M8 bolts with a large plain washer to span this rectangular hole. Hang the mudguard on one bolt, then out of the pack of nuts and bolts there is some brackets that are a small angle. These go in from the underside of the mudguard and line up with two holes that are in the side of the trailer. Once this is fitted, fit the other mudguard in the same way. Once all the panels and mudguards are on, it's required to fit the tailgate. The tailgate requires no tools. It basically slides on in place and is held on with catchers. To do this, just line the two parts of the hinges fastened to the tailgate, these up with the pins that are on the back of the trailer. Once it's slid sideways and fully on, close the tailgate and fit the rear catchers. This makes all the trailer sturdy and strong and everything in line, ready to tighten all the bolts up. To tighten the bolts up, get some sort of ratchet, a 13mm socket and a 10mm socket. Start off with the 13 and tighten all the way around. Don't forget to do the mudguard inside. Use an extension on the mudguards. Then repeat down the other side. Once this is done, tighten the two small M6 screws with a 10mm socket. Then go round and torque them all up. All the M8 bolts are 18 Newton meters and it's 8 Newton meters for the small M6 underneath. Then last and most important, tighten the wheels up. This is a 17mm socket and these need to be tightened to 70 Newton meters. Once the trailer's fully tightened up, the final thing, which is actually a legal requirement, is the reflectors. These are a rubber mounted reflector that holds on with 2 screws. They slide into the rubber like so, and there's 2 small holes just behind that bolt. That they screw in with. This is done using a posi drive screwdriver that I forgot to mention you need for building this trailer, and the screws cut themselves straight into the holes and fitted like that. Then repeat on the other side. Once everything's tightened up, this trailer is complete and ready to go. It's good practice once a year to check the nuts and bolts and to check the bolts, the wheel nuts on a regular occurrence, because they can work loose, and you're ready to go and use it for whatever you need.